Namo Phat, good morning. Thank you for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This beautiful sound calls us back to our true home. The fourth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I vow to cultivate loving speech and deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and to relieve others of their suffering. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I'm determined to speak truthfully with words that inspire self-confidence, joy, and hope. I will not spread news I do not know to be certain, and will not criticize or condemn things of which I am not sure. I will refrain from uttering words that can cause division or discord, or that can cause the family or the community to break. I'm determined to make all efforts to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. For our Dharma lessons, we've been reading Ajahn Amaro's book, Catastrophe, Apostrophe, it's reflections on dependent origination. This morning we have a section on language and convention. Lastly, by way of laying the ground for this book, it might be helpful to look briefly at the use of language in this area. For example, in the apparent dichotomy between the teachings on rebirth and those of anatta, not self. In the Buddhist time, people would ask him, as they still do today, things like, you say that all things are not self, but you also talk about this or that person passing away and being reborn in this realm or that realm. If all things are not self, who or what are these people that you are talking about? You can almost hear the Buddha sigh. The Buddha would respond in the vein of, it is a fact that I frequently say that all dhammas are not self, but I refer to this person or that person because it is the common usage of speech. Those words are employed without any delusion and without any creation of the belief in permanent individual self. For example, quote, if a bhikkhu is an arhat, the monk might still use words like I speak, and he might say, they speak to me. Skillful, knowing the world's parlance, he uses such terms as mere expressions in common use. For citta, these are merely names, expressions, turns of speech, designations in common use in the world, which the Tathagata uses without misapprehension, uses to conform to common custom without clinging to them. One might say, today is Saturday, but it is not really on an ultimate level Saturday. The designation is just a human convention based on the English language and the 7-day week, referring to a particular experience in a particular geographical location. When we think of something as being right or wrong, the rightness or wrongness is often highly relative. Similarly, the Buddha warned against being attached to specific verbal usages. For example, using a single household item as an instance of this, he said, quote, don't cling to vernacular usage or override convention. And how does one cling to vernacular usage or override condition? By dogmatically maintaining, for example, that a certain object, which is called a dish, pati, in one part of the country, or a bowl, pata, in another, or a vessel, vita, in another, or again a saucer, sarava, or a pan, daropa, or a pot, pona, or a cup, hana, or a basin, pasila, in yet another, must invariably be called by a single name, either a dish or a bowl, or a vessel, or a saucer, or a pan, or a pot, or a cup, or a basin. then insisting in each and every locality, this word alone is the proper usage. All the rest are mistaken. That would be an extreme case of local prejudice. But if one varies the terminology as one travels through different regions, continually bearing in mind how those various terms are applied to the same household object, then all divisive bias will be avoided. This flexibility around language is of great importance when looking into a complex process like dependent origination, especially as it is defined at its source in foreign terms. As one looks into the anatomy and mechanics of dependent origination, it is the case that, after working with it for some time, most people find their own ways of articulating and getting a feel for each of the links and the connections between them. This approach, and even the crafting of one's own language to name each of the links, I feel, is to be encouraged. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining me today.